All right guys, we've got the arsenal laid out here on the table as you can see, and I'm going to go over here on the far side and we're going to start with the Morimoto by Xenon projectors since they really are the benchmark in our industry. We're going to move on to the middle. We're going to have the dual function bi LED projectors as well as the UPS Power Plus with that laser I'm excited to show you. And then over here on this side we've got the dedicated LED high beam projectors. So let's get right into it. Let's get into the reviews of each one all on their own, and I'm going to tell you guys why you would pick one of these over the other for your project. All right, so first things first, this is the Morimoto Mini D2s 5.0, so it's a 5th generation of the Mini D2s by Xenon projector. Of course, it is a Xenon projector, so this takes an industry standard D2s light bulb. I love that fact because D2s is available in so many different options, both from Morimoto, Osram, Philips, some of the best names in our industry make bulbs that fit these projectors. Now this is a 3-inch lens projector, meaning that it has one of the bigger of the 2 lens standards. There's a 2.5 inch like the Mini H1 and a 3-inch as you find on the Mini D2s. So it's a nice projector for filling up larger sized headlights like a Ford F-150 or some of the pickup trucks that are really popular to retrofit. Just gives the projector a little bit more presence inside of that headlight. Of course, one of the main features on this projector is the threaded shaft, which makes it supremely easy to mount when you're actually doing the retrofit because it minimizes the amount of cutting that you have to do. You simply take out the old halogen bulb, widen that hole that the halogen bulb fits in now, put the threaded shaft through there, and then twist it on with the lock ring, tighten it down, and that projector is locked in on your headlight. So there's very little modification to do. And ultimately, I think that the real reason to buy this projector is A, if you're an HID kind of guy, which I still love. HID, like I said, it's been around forever. It's a very mature technology, lots of options for Kelvin ratings and bulbs, supreme light output. This thing is very, very, very wide, and the intensity in the hot spot is also great. And it's got an excellent cutoff line too. This thing, like all of the Morimoto projectors these days, has an ECE slope cutoff. So it's not a straight DOT step, it's a slope type cutoff, which a lot of people tend to prefer, and has a really nice and sharp, colorful cutoff line for some great exotic color flicker too. Now, the last thing that I'll mention is that the lens on this projector has the AR coating, which helps to increase the intensity a little bit, and also has that pretty cool blue tinted look. The last thing which makes the Morimoto Mini D2s popular is that it uses what's called a D2s 4.0 or now these days 5.0 standard bolt pattern. That means the spacing on all of the holes in the middle flange here on the projector. And what's cool about that is that because of the popularity of these projectors and the family of this projector, there are a lot of pre-existing brackets out there, such as the Retrofit brackets that we sell, that are designed to fit these projectors and be direct adapters to fit them into a lot of pre-existing or headlights that have pre-existing projectors in them. So there's a lot of brackets out there that fit this projector and makes it an even more turnkey swap into a lot of headlights that have halogen projectors now. All right, moving right along, the brand new Morimoto Mini H1 8.0. Yes, the 8.0, wow. It's hard to believe that there's been 8 generations of this projector that's been on the market, some of the earlier of which are really more similar to the Acmes, which I'll get onto next. But the Morimoto Mini H1 is an awesome projector for people who want to pack as much performance into their headlight and really just don't have that much space inside of the light, because as you can see, compared side by side with the D2s 5.0, both from the front and the side profile, this thing is much more compact. Now, it's more compact because it uses a more compact bulb, such as the H1s. Now, there are very few to little H1 bulbs available from manufacturers like Osram or Philips, but there are certain H1 bulbs out there that use Philips capsules like the XV2, which you can get from Xenon Depot. So that's probably one of the best bulbs to use in this projector. But like I said, the biggest benefit of this projector is the fact that it packs a lot of punch and it's a very small in size. Now, I know that a lot of you guys are really familiar with the H1 because it's been around forever, obviously, given that this is on its 8th generation. So what's the difference with the 8th generation? Well, the 8th generation, like the Morimoto D2s 5.0, has the new AR-coated lens, more light output, cool tinted blue look. It has the ECE sloped cutoff line, so brand new die-cast cutoff shield, very, very precise mechanism, and it's got that sloped cutoff that, again, a lot of people prefer. The width is every bit as good as the 7.0. That really hasn't changed all that much. It's really, really wide and has these great bright streaks right below the cutoff line for a lot of illumination, right exactly where you need it. And then it gets a really major hardware upgrade for the back. Now, the Moto holders, which have been around for a couple years, they used to be an option for the 7.0 and the other Mini H1 projectors. They now come standard on the Morimoto Mini H1 8.0. And what that allows you to do is hold the H1 bulbs in a much more precise fashion, and they're much easier to install also than those old school clips. I hate those things. Last but not least, a little bit of a hardware upgrade on the lock ring here. You can see that, like the D2s 5.0, doesn't have that installed. The lock ring is a nice new CNC machined aluminum piece that's also been anodized blue to just match the rest of the Mini H1 or the Mini projectors in the Morimoto family. So really nice upgrade here. No change to the bolt pattern on the Mini H1 from the 8.0 to the previous generations, but undoubtedly, you know, the best Mini H1 in the series yet. And you know, personally, I really cannot see there being any future upgrades to this projector. It really pushes the limit in terms of what's possible for a bi-xenon projector in this small of a footprint. All right, moving on. The old dinosaur of a brother to the Mini H1. So this is the Acme Super H1 projector. Now this projector, compared to the Mini H1, you know, gives you a lot of the same benefits in terms of, you know, the small size and the footprint on the projector, because it's really no different there in terms of the dimensions. 2.5-inch lens, same exact distance from the lens to the threaded shaft, and then, you know, same bolt pattern in the middle there too. But as I mentioned earlier, this projector is really more akin to like the first or second generation of the Morimoto projector, whereas this thing has just been completely left behind. So in terms of precision, it's going to be a lot less relative to the Morimoto version of the projector. As you can see here, it has this old school vertical spring-loaded cutoff shield mechanism that used to tend to get stuck. Really not too much these days, but you know, the parts themselves are much less precise. The solenoid is a lot weaker compared to the side push version on the Morimoto, and the cutoff shield itself is just a lot less precise since it's a stamped part instead of a die-cast part as you find on the Morimoto. The lens holder itself, plastic versus metal, just not quite as strong, a little bit more flexible. The lens, just basic clear lens, no AR coating like you have on the Morimoto. And then the hardware itself, still stuck in the past with the old school paper clip style bulb clip on the H1, and then the old just basic lock ring. And the threaded shaft is actually slightly shorter too, so you get a little bit of a benefit there with the Morimoto version. All in all, if you guys really want to do a projector retrofit and you don't have, you know, the big budget like you need to retrofit some of the more top of the line stuff like the Morimotos, the Acme projectors are still not all that bad. I would recommend this 10 out of 10 times for somebody who wants to do a retrofit, wants a headlight upgrade, but doesn't want to do it the wrong way by just putting an LED or an HID bulb in your stock projector. So just, you know, relative to the fact that it's not exactly as good as some of the Morimoto stuff, don't be afraid. It's still a good projector, and you know, still a good way to do a retrofit on a budget. All right, an oldie but a goodie. This is the Morimoto Evo XR 2.0 bi-xenon projector. So like all the other ones that we just reviewed, it is a bi-xenon projector, meaning that it has both a low and a high beam in the same exact unit here. Now this projector is actually based off of an old Hella design from the early 2000s that you often would find in old Mercedes and Audis and BMWs when they first came out with bi-xenon projectors back in the day. That's why I say it's oldie but a goodie. And the light output though is still pretty darn good. These things have one of the brightest hotspots out there in the game, although the width is not quite as good. You know, I do really like the high beam as well. It has a cool tabletop high beam that has a lot of you know, good features for illuminating down the road and in the bushes up ahead. In terms of why you would actually choose this projector relative to some of these others, well, it doesn't exactly have the threaded mounting shaft, so it's not going to be as easy to install. So you just have a more typical bulb holder back here. The only way to do it is really with the bolt pattern and mounting bolts that are around the center flange here. And these projectors are mostly used in a lot of conversions where you're taking out a projector that already came with this bolt pattern and you're swapping in for the Evo XR that actually packs a little bit more light output in the exact same footprint and bolt pattern. So that's really the main reason why people choose these, and that's why they've stuck around. Other 3-inch bi-xenon projectors without threaded mounting shafts have really fallen by the wayside and have been discontinued. As you can see, there is no FXR projector, which is mind-blowing, on this table, because even though the performance has been respectable, A, it's not as good as a Morimoto Mini D2s 5.0, B, it doesn't have a threaded mounting shaft, and so retrofitting without threaded mounting shafts has really become a lost art, I'm afraid to say. The other reason that you would pick the Evo XR 2.0 is because even though you can see we have a D2s bulb fitted here, they're also compatible with both the D1s and D3s light bulbs. So again, if you're swapping it into an application that came with projectors, like a Ford F-150, a 13 to 15 Ford F-150, 13 to 14 F-150 comes to mind that had stock D3s bulbs, same exact bolt pattern, this would be the candidate for an easy projector retrofit and a upgrade in terms of performance for you, because it's compatible with the headlight frame and the bulbs in the HID system that you've already got. All right, the moment you've been waiting for. Step aside, everybody else. Here it is, the Morimoto MLED 2.0 bi-LED projector. I can't believe that this is actually the first time that I'm actually picking this thing up and reviewing it for you guys on camera, because it's been out for a little while now and it's already gotten a reputation for being the best bi-LED projector, if not the best projector in the retrofitting aftermarket to date. So I'm super excited about this thing. This thing was designed completely from the ground up. It is totally proprietary to Morimoto, and it is a massive upgrade over the Morimoto MLED 1.0, which didn't quite get the rave reviews that this thing does. So let's talk you through it. First things first, like the other projectors in the Morimoto series, AR coated 3-inch lens. So the AR coating makes it a little bit brighter, gives you that sexy blue tint, just looks cool. Next thing, you have a super heavy duty lens frame here. It is not metal, it is made of plastic to keep the weight down a little bit, since this thing is a little bit chunkier with the heatsink built in, but it's super high precision, looks really nice, has the cool MLED 2.0 logo there embossed on the side. Solenoid mechanism, super high quality, all die cast parts, very, very high precision, and it has the ECE sloped cutoff that again you find on the other Morimoto projectors. So if you like consistency, I'm a big fan. This one has it. You could do a quad retrofit with something else and still have that nice slope cutoff. Very sharp, has that nice tinge of blue, but not too much, and it looks really good. Now, at the time that we're making this video, there is only the left-hand drive version of this projector out, but due to popular demand, you guys across the pond have not stopped bugging us, bugging Morimoto to make a right-hand drive version. It is in the works, and I expect that probably, maybe by the time you guys see this video, or at least soon after, the right-hand drive version will be out for everybody in Australia, the UK, Japan, etc. All right, so moving right along, you see we've got a big old fan here on the bottom, and obviously that is to cool the projector. Now, being a bi-LED projector, it's powered, light output by an LED. It is critical for these things to stay cool. There was a lot of testing and validation done to make sure that this projector will operate cool in a variety of operating conditions, so that the LEDs last the longest and ensures peak performance for many years to come. And on the back is another cool feature of the MLED 2.0, which actually, I must say, you did find on the 1.0 version as well, which is of course the threaded mounting shaft that makes it very, very easy to install with minimal modifications. You just clamp down with the CNC anodized lock ring here you see on the back. But it's also nice because, as you can see here, there's screws in the back, and you can actually remove this threaded mounting shaft if you want to shorten the depth of the projector by about a full inch, about 25 millimeters. So if you're putting this thing in a really tight application where you need to shorten the depth, you can take that thing off if you don't need it at all and save some space and some weight. Now, the other nice thing about LED projectors in general is, as you can see, it's really all-inclusive. You don't need a full relay harness, you don't need extra HID bulbs, ballast, all that stuff. It's all in one. This is your entire system here. So you've got the LED driver that has simply a input for the low and the high beam, and that's that. There's really not much to it. The thing is completely potted, so it's totally waterproof. You can mount it anywhere under the hood that you want. It's got these nice little mounting ears for a nice clean installation. The other thing, which is not to be overlooked, it's just kind of a nice simple feature, is this seal right here. Now, not a lot of people think about something like this, but when you're actually passing this out the back of your headlight, in order to keep the headlight completely sealed, you want to have a cap there. You can actually drill a hole here. It's about a 1/2 inch in diameter, so you can put that cap in and have a completely sealed housing, get your driver out to the wiring, keep the projector inside, and everything will be nice and clean. So from a physical standpoint, obviously the MLED 2.0 has it all, but it's not just about how it looks and how it feels in your hand. This is about how this thing performs on the road. And ultimately, that's what makes this projector the weapon of choice for most retrofitters today. Now, you'll see when we light these things up on our beam pattern wall and when we get some more intense output shots outside, that this projector has the ultimate distribution of light, okay? So what I mean by that is that the hotspot, very, very bright. It's extremely wide, but the distribution of light within that beam pattern is really what makes this projector better than everything else out there, because it puts all of the available light exactly where you want it on the road ahead, and it has a perfect gradient of intensity down to the foreground as you get closer to the front of your vehicle, so that your eyes adjust perfectly and you see into the distance with perfect visibility. Now, another cool option on the table here that's been out for a little while and we have not reviewed for you, but definitely merits being part of this group, is the UPS Power Plus Bi-LED with laser assist high beam. Yes, this is the only projector that I know of and that we carry with a laser function in it for the high beam. As you can see, it's got this funky lens here on the front. This little lens at the top here is actually what projects that laser assist high beam out there on the road. So for the main function, for the low and the high beam, it actually uses a traditional LED chip, just like the MLED, which produces a respectably good light output for, again, the basic low and high beam. Nice and wide, really crispy and blue cutoff, looks really good. But the high beam is really the main feature on this projector. So for those of you guys who find yourself driving in the middle of nowhere and want the absolute most powerful high beam that you can possibly find for long range distance, high-speed driving in the dark, the Power Plus Bi-LED is the way to go. Now, because of that laser assist, these things are not cheap. They're about $500, which is a good couple $100 more almost than the Morimoto MLED. But again, laser. I mean, who can argue that? There are things about this projector is that, is fairly basic. I mean, otherwise, there's not too much to it. It uses the D2s 5.0 bolt pattern. So if you've got a RetroQuick compatible bracket, you should be able to modify those or use them directly with the Power Plus Bi-LED with laser. They don't have a threaded mounting shaft, so if you're thinking about doing a really easy turnkey retrofit, well, forget about the Power Plus, because these things are a beast. They are pretty chunky. There's no threaded mounting shaft, so they're going to be a little bit more of a pain in the butt to actually install in your headlight. But if you want some supreme light output, you've got deep pockets and you're not afraid to spend it on a set of badass projectors, the Power Plus Bi-LED from UPS is a pretty sweet choice, honestly. All right, we're down to the last two guys, and these are actually dedicated high beam projectors, both of which are powered with LEDs. So the first one that I have here is the Morimoto Mini HB. HB standing for high beam, surprise. Now this projector is kind of like a high beam cousin of the Mini H1 projector, 2.5 inch lens, threaded shaft, smaller in diameter like the Mini H1. I don't have the lock ring on here, but of course it has it like the other Mini H1s. And it uses the same exact bolt pattern as the Mini H1s too. So if you have a tight high beam reflector on your headlight that you want to retrofit, you can get away with using shrouds like the Mini Gatling or the Mini Graphite on these while keeping things nice and compact. Now, it's also relatively shallow from front to back, so you minimize the amount of actual housing depth that you need. So a really nice option for people who are looking for a dedicated LED high beam. They don't want something that's crazy looking like the high lens, which I'll go over next. And they don't have much space, and it's really relatively affordable too. So yeah, cool little projector here, pretty basic, not too many features to describe, but you'll see, really great output as a dedicated high beam, and will make a great complement to any of these dual function high-low projectors in a quad retrofit. And last but not least, the brand new Profile High Lens 2.0 dedicated high beam projector with LED demon eyes. Now, what's new about the 2.0 version of this projector is that the entire body of the thing is built out of metal, okay? So overall footprint is really not that much different than the original high lens, which was an extremely popular product. But those things became notorious for having issues because the threaded mounting shaft would crack off, which obviously when that is what holds the projector to your headlight, not so good. So with the new high lens 2.0, that is obviously all metal and much, much, much stronger than before. Still have the exact same diameter for the lens here, which is a really cool, more radical looking design than the Mini HB from Morimoto. It's kind of like an old school Q45 projector look. And you know, I mean, just as effective as the Mini HB in terms of its actual functionality and ability to put light out on the road ahead of you as a high beam as the Mini HB though. So, cool thing about this projector, as I mentioned, is that it is a dedicated high beam, but it also can function as a daytime running light feature. So there's two versions of it with the 2.0 version. This version that I'm holding here in my hand has the white LED daytime running light, or demon eye. Yeah, and there's also another version which we'll show you a quick clip of, which is the RGBW version, and that you can use that with something like a Morimoto XBT controller if you want to, you know, get funky with some RGB stuff. So wrapping up the Profile High Lens 2.0, I mean, again, dedicated high beam. It's got the demon eye or daytime running light function available in either white or RGB. It's very small, compact. It looks cool with this funky Q45 looking lens. And like most of the other projectors here on the table, you've got the threaded mounting shaft for easy installation into most high beam pockets. All right, so that was a lot of talking, okay? And I know that a lot of you guys who are watching this video simply want to do a retrofit on your headlights. You want more light output. You don't really care so much for all the details, all right? So to make a long story short, for those of you guys who have a big headlight, you've got a good amount of space in it, and you've got an ample budget, about $300-400 bucks, MLED 2.0 from Morimoto is really not possible to beat that projector these days. First of all, the light output for the low beam, absolutely fantastic. The high beam, very, very powerful, very, very capable, easy to install with the threaded mounting shaft, and it's super turnkey with the built-in driver. You don't need all the extra bells and whistles, bulbs, ballasts, all that stuff like you need with some of the older bi-xenon projectors that you do here with the MLED. So very simple, excellent light output, and relatively affordable in the grand scheme of things. For those of you guys who want to do a high performance retrofit and you're lacking a little bit of space inside of your lights, I'm going to give the nod to the Morimoto Mini H1 8.0, the newcomer in this group. The thing again, I mean, great light output, very good width, good high beam. You know, the precision all around really can't be beat for a bi-xenon projector. And you know, the overall size, I mean, is very small. I would challenge you to find any projector out there that is just as easy to install, packs as much punch for the low and high beam, and comes in a footprint as small as the Morimoto Mini H1 8.0. All right, guys, well, thanks for watching the review. Keep the rubber, smash that like button below, like, subscribe. Hopefully that was helpful to a lot of you guys. No, I said guys twice, no good. If you like this video, remember to like and subscribe. Boom. No, I don't like that either. Keep the light output on the road, and if you like this video, remember to like and subscribe. I'm out.